I used to trust the way she said friends. The way the word lifted at the end like a leaf hitching a ride on wind. Innocent and weightless. It meant dinners I wasn't invited to because you don't know them like I do. Group photos where I was the one taking the picture, and a constellation of inside jokes I pretended didn't sting. So when she slipped on the black dress, the one that made her collarbones look like commas waiting for the rest of the sentence, and said she'd be out with the girls, I nodded like a good man and watched her paint her mouth the color of secrets. The taxi headlights blinked through the windows as she gathered a clutch, perfume, and a careful smile she didn't think I recognized as armor. I let her go because there's a type of truth that doesn't arrive when summoned. It shows up when the nights had time to grow teeth. I didn't follow immediately. I brewed coffee as if I were doing something normal, something civilized, the kettle rattling like a small animal in a trap. I drank it too fast and burned my tongue, a sharp, private pain that kept me from calling her. Then I checked the map app we had agreed to share after the last argument. The one about boundaries and transparency, the one we solved with a kiss instead of a plan. Her date didn't sit over a bar or a cafe, or the friend's loft with the dreadful ferns I never watered properly. It pulsed near a place I knew well, the kind of restaurant that prided itself on dim corners and long courses, where the bread came with olive oil so good it made you resent everything cheap in your life. I told myself maybe the girls wanted to feel fancy. I told myself a lot of generous lies while I pulled on a jacket and walked out under a sky glazed with the kind of clouds that make the city feel like it's trying to hide its own face. The maitre d' recognized me when I came in alone, because we'd been here once for our anniversary, and she'd cried over the lemon tart like it had forgiven her. He offered a polite, professional smile that slipped when I asked for a table without a reservation. Just the bar, I said, and he led me to the far end, where the bottles rose in tiers like a stained glass church advertising vices. The bartender slid over a menu and recommended a red, velvety, a little arrogant. I took the glass and stared at the room through it, the candle flames smeared into comets. Couples leaned toward each other, murmuring, making the kind of theater intimacy sometimes is. I tried not to look for her, and of course that's when I found her. She always tilted her head when she listened. A small move like she was granting the other person a piece of the moon. At a corner table, she sat in that pose, chin cupped, entirely present, not with a clutch of girlfriends, but with a man I'd met once, the colleague, who laughed a little too early at her jokes and touched her elbow like it was a doorbell. He was cleaner tonight, suit-fitted, hair tamed by something expensive. He had the ease of someone who believed the world would catch him if he fell backward. The candle between them painted their faces gold. He said something I couldn't hear, and she laughed with only the right side of her mouth. Her real laugh, the private one I'd learned in the quiet intimacy of toothpaste foam and pillows. My fingers tightened around the stem of the glass. Another? The bartender asked. I shook my head. It wasn't just that they were together. It was the way they arranged the space between them. The way their hands drifted closer and then obeyed the rules again. It was the way her eyes softened like bread dunked in oil. It was the way his knee angled toward hers as if gravity had chosen sides. I told myself to get up, to walk out, to be noble or at least indifferent. But then, like a caricature of fate, she lifted her glass and paused midair, staring into it for a second longer than needed. And in that small globe of wine, in the smooth dark surface, I saw the candle. I saw his eyes. And I saw the candlelight reflected in them. Twin stars burning in the pupils that shouldn't have held her fire.